We're reading one short story every single day, and I'm publishing one short story every week to my website, thewriterwithacause.com. All this in an effort to make not just myself a better writer, but you a better writer too, by taking you along with me through these videos, where I break down what I've read so we can apply the writing genius of that author to our own authorial experience. Today's reading to make us better writers is the short story by Charlotte Perkins Gilman titled The Giant Wistaria. Today's breakdown is going to focus on Gilman's artful use of the classic moon motif. Now, quickly to make sure that we're all on the same page, a motif, in the words of the Poetry Foundation, is a central or recurring image or action in a literary work that is shared by other works. Unlike themes, which are messages, statements, or ideas, motifs are details whose repetitions add to the work's larger meaning. And you can find a link to that full article by the Poetry Foundation down in the description box below. The moon motif in literature often functions as a classic reference to the supernatural, romance, or the feminine archetype. Now, these aren't the only meanings that can apply to a moon motif, but they are some of the most prominent ones you'll find. And they're the ones that happen to apply to our story here today. So let's dive in and look at Gilman's story structure. She begins with a cast of characters clearly speaking 18th century Old English. Meddle not with my new vine, child. See, thou hast already broke the tender shoot. That's our story's opening line, folks. Now, this 18th century cast is only present for the first 2 pages of this short story. They then take on a ghastly tenor. But we do get a very important first instance of that moon motif, which ultimately links their story to that of the younger couples we'll meet in the second part of this brilliantly ghastly tale. To set the scene, we have 2 parents and their daughter who is pregnant out of wedlock, and the parents are trying to force her into marrying her cousin to avoid familial shame. In the upcoming quote, the parents are reflecting on their circumstance as the moonlight quite literally and figuratively provides a certain hue to their words and actions. The parents were left alone together on the high square porch with its great pillars, and the rising moon began to make faint shadows of the young vine leaves that shot up luxuriantly around them, moving shadows like little stretching fingers on the broad and heavy planks of the oaken floor. We will slowly come to learn the moon is a revealer of truth. I'll share with you now that the child at the center of this shame does not survive in this story. Some may argue that the child lives on in the vine leaves with little stretching fingers up the great pillars of a home they will never know. It's with the help of the moon that this child and their mother live on in a sort of twisted, haunted existence, tethered to a home they were abandoned in so many moons ago. After all, the daughter of these 2 parents wanted nothing to do with her cousin maritally. He hath always desired her, but she would none of him, the stubborn. The moon then greets us for a final time in the context of this 18th century cast. In fact, it does so in the very last line of their section. Overhead, the shadows flickered mockingly across a white face among the leaves, with eyes of wasted fire. Wasted fire, very well being 2 lives that were needlessly lost in child and mother. Mockingly does a lot of work here. With this adjective, the moon is personified and really cemented as a bona fide character throughout this story. It's something we can count on. That just goes to show us writers just how powerful one word can be, mockingly. The writing that precedes this final line of this first section includes the father arguing, "She weddeth him ere we sail tomorrow, or she stayeth ever in that chamber." This is a key line to remember when we get to the very last passage of this short story. Let's just say, with the help of the moon, a certain reality is revealed. For the rest of our story, our leads are newlyweds George and Mrs. Jenny and their friends Kate and Jack and Susie and Jim. They're about a century in the future, and have all decided to spend the summer in the very house that our 18th century cast was set in. How convenient. With them, the moon motif continues. In fact, it seems to have tracked them down. The June moon found them all sitting on the high front porch. Yes, your memory does not deceive you. It is that same front porch. They had explored the grounds, once beautiful, with rare trees and shrubs, but now a gloomy wilderness of tangled shade. The narrator hints at us readers that the setting is simultaneously continuous, but much changed. The wistaria vines are no longer new and sprouting, but are now tangled and gloomy, perhaps providing a mirror to the tangled and strained human tale that unfolded here a century prior. Our young couples are certainly inquisitive. In fact, they spend most of their time worrying and hoping that ghosts haunt this house they're summering in. I'm sure it's haunted, young Mrs. Jenny says. In fact, we learn many of them were greeted by a particularly interesting and peripatetic and evasive ghost, according to Jack. After spending the night in this surely haunted house, the couples exchange oddly specific encounters that all curiously correlate to one another. And we, the reader, are led to believe that the three husbands are simply trying to exacerbate the three women with falsified ghost stories. After all, Jack did say the previous day, "And if we don't find a real ghost, you may be very sure I shall make one. It's too good an opportunity to lose." But we, the reader, are arguably lured right where Gilman wants us to land her final authorial blow. But first, more moon. The moonlight came through in my 3 great windows and 3 white squares on the black old floor, and those fingery wistaria leaves we were talking of last night just seemed to crawl all over them. Sound familiar? The final reveal of this ghost story is only illuminated after the moon has set, and the couples must employ artificial light to guide them into the cellar where they believe their ghost resides. The deep old cellar was so dark that they had to bring lights. After all, truth lies hidden a well, and we must get her out. More personification here, this time of truth itself. We must get her out. This is not accidental. So they slowly pulled the bucket up from the bottom of the well to reveal a certain horror. It's not until the workmen repairing the dilapidated porch tear away the floor and the side walls of the old porch so that the sunshine poured down to the dark stones of the cellar bottom that it was revealed that their ghost was very much real and tied, in fact, to that cast of characters our story opened with. Do you recall that line I asked you to remember? "She weddeth him ere we sail tomorrow, or she stayeth ever in that chamber?" Well, here we have our final answer. Gilman tells a tale worthy of a detective's caseboard. I believe we could spend hours weaving in and out of her webs of hints and false breakthroughs. But under the constraints of this one video, I merely hope that this preliminary analysis highlighting the moon motif present in the Giant Wistaria has given you something to bite onto as inspiration for the next tale you set out to tell. I know it certainly has for me. Before you go, here is a sneak peek of the short story I've been working on this week that will be published tomorrow, Sunday, February 22nd, 2026. Her soles dragged along the pavement. She wore a well-loved pair of Converse, the black and white kind that go above the ankles. The soles had ripped from their stitching months ago, but Jamie didn't have a sewing kit or the will to fix them. She dragged her feet for another half-mile before she stopped to rest and soak up the sun beating down on her. Her head was already hot, obsidian, but she still wanted more. More heat, more warmth, more of that on-fire feeling. That's all for now. If you're curious to read the rest, you'll have to check back in tomorrow. This will be my 8th short story and therefore mark 2 months of uploading 1 short story per week. I don't know. I am actively learning just how much time, dedication, preparation, and discipline is necessary to produce a weekly piece of writing alongside these videos, which I really enjoy making. As always, I'm looking forward to reading your thoughts in the comments, to hearing about your own reading and writing endeavors for the week. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.